Chapter 94 began at the office of the White Tiger Guild, where Baek Yoon-ho sat, letting out a deep sigh after witnessing Sung Jinwoo's strength. In his mind, he realized that the idea of a hunter growing stronger was not a mere fantasy. Yoon-ho wondered just how much Jinwoo's worth could be. Yoon-ho also thought that his efforts to recruit Jinwoo had likely been a waste of time and energy, but he knew there were other ways to maintain a relationship with a talented hunter. He decided that it was time to move on to Plan B. Checking his phone, he noticed the official list of hunters participating in the upcoming search and destroy mission. To his surprise, Jinwoo's name was not on the list. The scene shifted to the hotel where Goto Ryuji was staying. He was on the phone with Sugimoto Reiji, the vice guild master of the Blade Guild, an S-rank hunter. During their conversation, Ryuji mentioned that it seemed there was a skilled hunter in South Korea. Sugimoto laughed, dismissing it, saying that the hunter couldn't possibly be as strong as him. But Ryuji replied that he is not sure about that. Sugimoto asked Ryuji for the name of this hunter. Ryuji responded, revealing that the hunter's name was Sung Jinwoo, who had undergone a second awakening and was recently evaluated as an S-rank hunter. Sugimoto found this odd because Jinwoo's name wasn't on the list of participants. Ryuji then questioned what Sugimoto meant, and Sugimoto explained that the South Koreans had already sent their list of hunters, which included Choi Jong-in, Ma Dong-wook, Baek Yoon-ho, Cha Hae-in, Lim Tae-gyu, and Min Byung-gu. These were the hunters who would make up the South Korean team for the raid on Jeju Island in 4 days. Ryuji found this hard to believe. It was unthinkable that Chairman Go would be crazy to exclude such a strong hunter like Jinwoo from the raid team. Sugimoto assured him that there was no need to worry, as 16 S-rank hunters would be participating, and everything would be fine. Ryuji responded with a nonchalant, "All right," reassuring himself that he had worried for nothing. He then said he would call Sugimoto again once the raid began, and Sugimoto agreed. The scene then shifted to Halasan Bangnok Dam, a crater lake on top of Mount Halasan, or Mount Hala, which means White Deer Lake, where the Ant Queen and her army resided. The Ant Queen had decided that they could no longer stay on the island due to the lack of food. The so-called ant children were eating each other, unable to sustain the kingdom. The queen decreed that they needed stronger soldiers and presented a large egg containing what appeared to be a powerful ant soldier. She ordered that this soldier consume whatever it could and become stronger, destined to lead the kingdom and strike fear into their enemies. The Ant Queen then repeated the words, "Make the enemies who stand in our way tremble in fear, and you must become stronger numerous times," until the soldier began to emerge from the egg. It let out a powerful scream, and an overwhelming aura enveloped the entire ant kingdom. The queen gave the soldier its final command. To consume all there is to consume in order to grow stronger, calling it her child. Next, the scene moved to Jinwoo's apartment, where he had returned with his mother and sister, Jin-ah. Upon entering, they were met with a messy apartment, and Jinwoo realized that it looked as if no one had cleaned while he was away at the demon castle. He playfully pinched his sister's face. His mother then commented it had been 4 years since she last did housework. His mother smiled and suggested they clean together, which Jinwoo agreed to with a smile. As they cleaned, Jinwoo's mother remarked that the house had become run down, filled with grit and grime in hidden places. Jinwoo agreed, acknowledging that they had lived there since his childhood. His mother then asked if he had heard any news about his father, to which Jinwoo answered sadly, no. He wondered what his mother would think if she learned he had followed in his father's footsteps. Jinwoo's father had been the reason his mother had stayed in the old apartment, despite Jinwoo making more money than most people ever would in a lifetime. He realized that his mother was still waiting for his father's return, holding on to the hope that he would come back someday. Jinwoo thought about how much his parents needed him, and the scene ended with him contemplating the upcoming Jeju Island raid. The scene then shifted to a press conference about the Jeju Island raid, where a man was showing a video of ants evolving at an astounding speed. He explained that if the number of mutants increased and overtook the entire colony, it would be considered an evolution. He showed pictures of ants from the first and second search and destroy missions, revealing that they initially crawled like regular ants, although they were gigantic in size. He then showed a picture from the third search and destroy mission, where the ants were now standing upright like humans, their heads reduced to allow for more agile movement. It had only taken 2 years for these changes to occur. The man explained that the ants were not just evolving in size, but they were also growing more human-like, with wings appearing on their backs. When asked if they could fly, the man confirmed that they could, which was why South Korea and Japan had agreed to form a united team to tackle the threat. A man in the audience commented that even a perfectly capable hunter would want to run away from such frightening creatures. A woman agreed but pointed out that a retired hunter had bravely joined the raid. The scene then cut to Jinwoo, who was reading hate comments online because his name wasn't on the Jeju Island raid list. One comment asked why Jinwoo's name wasn't included, while others mocked him, calling him the same E-rank hunter he once was. Another comment noted that even the retired hunter Min Byung-gu had joined the raid, asking where Jinwoo was. One user speculated that Jinwoo had peaced out after becoming an S-rank, calling it so cringe. Jinwoo, reading these comments, thought that he didn't care about the hate, but he did worry about his sister, Jina. While there were people who recognized him and stared, he was lost in thought when he was interrupted by a call from Jin-ho. Jinwoo asked if Jin-ho was still staying at the motel, to which Jin-ho responded that he had found an apartment, thanks to his mother's help. Jin-ho mentioned that he had also found an office space and invited Jinwoo to check it out. Jinwoo arrived at the apartment, and Jin-ho explained that the guild needed an office, so he had selected the best option near their apartment. Jinwoo questioned whether the office was too big for just the two of them, but Jin-ho clarified that a guild needed at least 3 hunters, a guild master, a vice guild master, and an employee. Jinwoo then realized that he would need to recruit more members, though he also thought that he could simply choose a hunter to fill the headcount. Suddenly, Jin-ho mentioned that a foreigner was looking for Jinwoo and handed him a business card. He explained that they would be in Korea until July 17th. Jinwoo wondered who this foreigner was, someone who seemed to know him. Suddenly, Jinwoo seemed alert, saying he needed to go home. Jin-ho, confused, asked what was happening, but Jinwoo quickly used shadow exchange, surprising Jin-ho since it was the first time he had seen it. The scene shifted to Jinwoo's neighborhood, where a thug was holding a knife to a girl, threatening to kill her if she screamed. The man was smirking as he taunted the girl, saying he loved the neighborhood because people died here all the time. Just then, a voice behind him said, "I know, right? I love this neighborhood too." The thug turned around in surprise, and Jinwoo asked if he wanted to know why he was doing such a horrible thing. The thug snarled, wondering if Jinwoo was there to lecture him. He responded that he didn't care about such things, but if he had to answer, it was because it's fun. As the thug lunged at Jinwoo, brandishing a knife, he grabbed Jinwoo's shoulder and stabbed him several times, saying that whenever he set his sights on someone weaker than him, he felt the urge to harass them. Jinwoo suddenly spoke up, saying that he could somewhat relate to that, shocking the thug as the blade did no damage. Jinwoo continued, "Once you get a taste of it, returning to normal life isn't easy," before slashing the thug's legs out. The trembling thug realized that Jinwoo was unscathed. Jinwoo then said that it would have been nice to go home before it got so dark. The girl then fled, and Jinwoo warned the thug that he had until midnight to surrender to the authorities if he wanted to live. Jinwoo told his shadow orc to kill the thug if he didn't surrender, then added that he would very much like him to live. Jinwoo then thought that he wasn't exactly sure if his high orc shadow soldier had much patience. As Jinwoo headed home, he thought about how the Jeju Island raid would begin the next day. Meanwhile, Goto Ryuji, holding his phone, trembled, still thinking about the fight with Jinwoo. He couldn't shake the feeling that during his fight with Jinwoo he felt death. He reflected on what had gone wrong and realized that he had become overly sensitive after their battle. The scene then shifted with a helicopter carrying hunters to Jeju Island, where Mount Hallison visible in the distance.